Hi everyone. Idania and I wanted to post our slides. This is the Morgue Family Department orientation session. We do have a mandatory advisement session that's going to take place for the Chemistry and Material Science on August 11th. And for Idania and her petroleum master students, you guys do have to meet with Dr. Ishagi. But we thought it would be helpful to post some slides here in an orientation session just in case you missed it or if you need to come back and refer to kind of what the policy and procedures are. So again, welcome again. We look forward to having you guys here in the fall. My name is Andy Chan. I'm the Director of Student Affairs, and I'm here with Idania.
My name is Idania Takimoto, and I am the Student Services Advisor for the Petroleum Engineering Master students.
Okay, so for our recorded session, again, keep in mind this is just mostly for our on-campus students. For the DEN orientation, we do have those slides available already on the GAP website, so you should see a link there. So for the DEN students, please refer to the DEN program orientation sessions. This is really meant for our on-campus student. But again, the degree requirements are extremely similar. Our agenda is we welcome you to USC. We're going to go over some important dates and deadlines. We're going to go over the degree requirements. We'll go over some of the more policies, procedures, and tips, and then we'll talk about advisement declearance. So again, welcome. I am Andy. I'm the Director of Student Affairs. I work with about 800 students, masters, undergrads, and PhD. I directly advise the Chemistry, Material Science, Materials Engineering master students, and all of our PhD students.
And once again, I'm Idania Takimoto, and I'm the PTE Student Services Advisor.
Okay. Our department is unique in that we do have faculty advisors, so unlike other departments where you contact really just with the staff advisors like myself and Idania, we do want you to contact with Dr. Shing, Dr. Gu, and Dr. Ishagi as much as possible. That's why they're there for. Keep in mind, again, for all of your electives, Dr. Shing for chemical engineering, Dr. Gu for material science, materials engineering, and Dr. Ishagi, petroleum engineering, need to approve those electives. So minimally, you do need to contact them when it's time to choose electives. They're also there for you for career advices, and generally, we do recommend you guys to seek them out. For the fall 2016 calendar, registration will continue, so as you guys come in, you'll begin to register, get declearances for your courses. The fall semester classes begin August 22nd. And September 9th is an extremely important date. That's the last day to add and drop a class. It's the last day to drop a class without a mark of a W on your transcript, and you'll be able to receive your refund. So, again, the department recommends all students to kind of have all of their courses settled before the September 9th deadline. Once you drop a class after September 9th, you may have a W on your transcript, and you're certainly responsible for the payment of the class. If you drop the class before the September 9th deadline, you're somewhat off the hook in the sense that you'll get a refund back. There's nothing on your transcript that's going to show if you ever taken the class. So we certainly recommend you to make sure you make a decision on your courses before the September 9th deadline.
Here are some additional dates for the fall 2016 semester. You'll see that there's a November 11th highlighted date. That's the last day to drop a class with a mark of a W. Anything dropped or not completed after that date will result in the grade you've earned. So it's very important that you're very familiar with this date and that you make sure that you speak to your faculty advisor before you make this decision. We want to make sure that it's the right decision for you and your program.
Right, so sometimes students ask Idania and myself whether it's good to have a lot of W's on your record, and certainly we do not recommend that. One, it's costly because you won't get any refund back, and two, it's going to show up on your transcript as a W, a withdrawal. Now, for students who we do recommend to take a W, if there's any sort of emergency that's happening, or you're doing so poorly on the class that it's either a F or a W, we certainly recommend doing a withdrawal. If there's one, W on your transcript, it really isn't such a horrible mark simply because you could explain, that semester I have a personal difficulty or challenge or, whatever reason it is. Now, if you have multiple W's, that might be a red flag. But again, W's don't count towards your GPA, so we do recommend taking that rather than getting an F in the course. Before you do make that decision, we do recommend you to come to speak to Idania and myself, and we could kind of guide you on the process and what it means for you.
And you'll see that the last day of classes is December 2nd. You have a few days in between the last day of class and the beginning of finals for study days. The final exams run December 7th through the 14th. It depends on the schedule that's pre-assigned by the university. We really like to stress to our students that it's very important to make sure that you are very aware of these dates before you make any holiday travel plans. We don't recommend leaving before the 14th just in case there's a change or something happens. You never know what could happen towards the end of the semester, so it's very much recommended that you hold off any travel until after the 14th.
Absolutely. And in fact, the final exam schedule is based on the courses that you take and the time that you take the courses. It's already posted in the scheduled classes, as Adania shared with you. Sometimes our students will see or contact faculty members to see if final exam dates can be moved. Unfortunately, those dates are predetermined by the university, and faculty members cannot move those dates at all. So make sure you mark your calendars early and make sure you're aware of those dates from the beginning. Today we're going to go over our program reviews. We have a chemical engineering degree, a master's of science in materials engineering, master's of science in materials science. That's not available on DEN, but is available for our on-campus student, our master's of science in petroleum engineering, smart oil field technologies, and the geoscience technologies. So let's start off with the master's of science in materials science. The requirement is 27 units total. You have to have a GPA of 3.0 or above in order to graduate. Anytime you go below 3.0, you will be on academic probation. After 2 semesters of academic probation, you are subject to being dismissed from the program. So really keep an eye out on your GPA. That 3.0 mark is extremely important. That's a B average. You cannot graduate if you have below a 3.0. So 2.99, unfortunately, you will not be able to graduate. Now for the materials science degree, we have a very set core course requirement. That's 21 units. You have to take solid state, thermodynamics, diffusion, the crystals course, quantum mechanics, mechanical behavior, and then a chemical engineering modeling class. So if you are interested in this program, you have to take all 7 of those courses. Our courses are at 3 units each. Now the remainder 6 units, Dr. Gu, your faculty advisor for materials science, materials engineering, has provided a pre-approved elective list that's listed in our handbook page, and I'll send these links to you guys as well. For those courses Dr. Gu has already deemed acceptable, you could go ahead and take those electives that's outside our department. You only need to take 2 of them. If you want to take more core courses, that's certainly acceptable as well. Now, sometimes students will ask me if they could waive one of the courses or switch, take an extra elective if they have taken a course, somewhere else. We do not allow that in the material science program. So it's very much set. You have to take 7 core courses. There's no way around it. Okay. Oh, I think let me skip to the materials engineering one. Sorry, the slides may be a little bit out of order. Sorry. Yeah, so the materials science and materials engineering program is a 27 unit requirement as well. It's 3.0 GPA overall. 18 of those units must be in courses in materials science. The elective is remainder 9 units. Again, same thing with material science. The 9 units elective has, you have to go off of the pre-approved list that Dr. Gu has provided. You get an extra elective compared to the material science program. Now, in regards to the core courses, a core course in material science is essentially any course that's either cross-listed or housed in material science department. So if we go back and look at the list in the material science, you have the solid state, crystal classes. Anything that's listed MASC is considered a core course. Dr. Vashishta has a great material science 575 course. That's not a core course in material science, but that's considered a core course in materials engineering because it's MASC. So again, it's housed in the material science department. Another example is this fall, we have a thin films class, material science 599. That's not a core course in materials science, but it is a core course in materials engineering because it starts with, again, MASC, and it's housed in our department. So if you take 6 of those courses that are housed in materials science MASC, that's considered a core course in materials engineering, and you only need 6 of those. Now, the materials engineering is a far more popular degree in our department because you get 1 extra elective and you have the core courses are a lot more flexible as well. It's not necessarily you just have to take solid state or thermodynamics. So if you're a student who doesn't necessarily want to take thermodynamics, those traditional core course, materials engineering is the degree for you. 95% of our students eventually do switch over to materials engineering. And sometimes you'll hear me say materials science and materials engineering interchangeably. The reason behind that is, while the degree requirements are different, we actually consider the two degree as exactly the same. There's some history behind this. Materials engineering used to be a more practice major. Materials science used to be more theoretical-based major. That's no longer applicable. In essence, the two degrees are really exactly the same. When employers or different schools, university contact us and ask us about the difference in the program when the students who go through a program apply for either jobs or a PhD, we really tell them that they're the exact same degrees. Again, the department and the university considers the two degrees exactly the same. One is not better than the other. One is just more flexible than the other. And again, if you're a student, for example, who wants to take all the traditional material science core courses and except for the, solid state or except for thermodynamics, we don't allow you to waive and switch. We just ask you to switch majors to a materials engineering major and then take those exact same courses. You could perhaps take extra elective if you like. Now, for the Master of Science in Chemical Engineering, it's a 28-unit requirement, 3.0 GPA. If you do not have a chemical engineering background, on your letter of admissions, you will see deficiency courses that you must take. Those are certainly a part of your requirement as well. It's not a part of your master's requirement, but in order to graduate, you do have to take those deficiency courses, and you can't really get out of them. We do have a seminar requirement that's for 1 unit. The DEN students are able to take a 1-unit directed research. The on-campus students are not. On-campus students are asked to take 550A for 0 units in the fall, and then 550B for 1 unit, and taking both of them fulfills your 1-unit requirement. You cannot take 550A without taking 550B. So again, those two courses, you have to take them 2 semesters, 2 seminars, I'm sorry, not 2 seminars, 2 courses, 2 seminar courses with multiple seminars throughout the semester for 1 unit. Now, the core requirement is 15 or 18 units, and they're listed: the modeling class, the thermo, viscous flow, mass transfer, kinetics, and heat transmission. So you see we separate the transport courses into 3 different courses. You could choose all 6 core courses, or you could choose 5 out of the 6. If you go for all 6 core courses, you can take 3 pre-approved electives. Keep in mind, all electives, again, have to be approved by Dr. Xing. What's approved for one student may not be approved for another student, so you must be very diligent about getting approval from Dr. Xing and copying me on it. If you go for the 6 core course, the 3 pre-approved elective could be in any department. So I have students who take all 6 core courses and they want to take a pre-approved elective in computer science and then another one in perhaps electrical engineering and then maybe another one in biomedical engineering. And that's fine as long as, again, those electives are approved by Dr. Xing. If you go for the 5 core course option, for example, if you said, I take a lot of thermal courses in the past, I want to waive out of the thermal. You can. You take the 5 core courses. You have to take 1 chemical engineering elective. So that could be a chemical engineering elective, maybe the 510 energy course that's offered this fall. If you take that 1 chemical engineering elective, that will replace that thermodynamics course that you try to get out of. And then the 3 pre-approved courses in a targeted area means that they're electives that have to be have a concentration. So, example of a concentration is energy. A student could take, again, let's go back to the example of waiving out of the thermal. They could take 5 core course, so all 6 core course with the exception of thermal, they take 5 core courses, 1 chemical engineering elective, for example, that the energy elective that's offered in the fall. Now for their 3 approved electives, as long as Dr. Xing approves, you would do a concentration in energy. It could be a petroleum course, a civil engineering course, and then maybe perhaps another course in petroleum. So that's okay as long as Dr. Xing approves your concentration and the 3 electives. Again, I have to stress this. What's approved for one student may not be approved for another, so you have to make sure you get Dr. Xing's approval. Anytime you contact Dr. Xing for her approval, make sure you copy me in the email. This way I could put it in your student files, so when it's time to graduate, there won't be any confusion with the issue.
So I'm going to go over the 3 different Masters of Science degrees we have in Petroleum Engineering. The first one that I'm going to review is the General Petroleum Engineering Master's Program, which is a 27-unit program. As with all degrees at USC, you are required to maintain a 3.0 GPA overall to remain out of probation. And you also need to have a 3.0 at the time of completion, or else you will be required to either extend your time here or speak to the faculty to see what your options are. The core courses for the general program are 18 units, and you can see that they're listed here. These are required. They cannot be waived. And when you meet with your faculty advisor, Dr. Ashagi, for your course plan, he'll assign the order that you need to take them in. While you're completing the core courses, you'll also work on the elective units, which is 9. You'll see that we have them all listed here. If you are a student coming to USC without a bachelor's in petroleum, you are required to complete core deficiency courses. This year we are handling PTE 500 differently. PTE 500 is a course that covers math that is required for our program that you should be familiar with. We will be scheduling a test to see if you have the option to waive out of it. This is the only course where you're given that option. The other 2 degrees that we have, the first one is the Master's of Science in Petroleum Engineering Smart Oilfield Technologies. Both of the 2 additional degrees are 34-unit degrees. This one, once again, as with all degrees, you have to have a 3.0 GPA. You also need to complete the 15 units of deficiency courses if you don't have a bachelor's in petroleum. The difference you'll see here is that we have 4 additional courses that are required for this program. Your elective unit requirement is reduced to 4, so you can work with Dr. Shagi to see which courses you will be approved to take as electives. And we also have the same deficiency courses required. The last degree that we have is the Geoscience Technologies degree in Petroleum Engineering. Once again, this is also a 34-unit degree. You have 30 units that are of core courses. You'll see that the additional 4 courses are listed at the top, starting with 502, 503, 504, 505, and then we have the courses that are required for all our degrees. You will need to work with Dr. Ashagi, your faculty advisor, on the 4 units of elective courses that are going to be applied towards this degree, and the deficiency courses are the same as for our previous degrees.
Okay, we're going to go over some department tips, policies, and procedures. First up is the transfer credit. It is possible to transfer up to 4 units if you have graduate degree coursework that's not applied to a previous degree. So for example, somebody who came from another institution but did not complete their master's program may be able to transfer up to 4 units. Please keep in mind that it has to be approved by USC's degree progress office first, and then it also has to be approved by the department, which is Dr. Shing, Dr. Gu, and Dr. Ashagi. We talked a little bit about changing majors before. If you're a material science student, changing majors to materials engineering. Again, anytime you're changing a major within the department, it's a little bit easier because we're working internally with our faculties. For material science students to switch to materials engineering, you simply just have to talk to me. Those are pre-approved. Just talk to me, and then we still have to complete the forms and the procedures. Now, if you're a student trying to transfer outside of our department, the first stop is always to talk to both Dania and I. And the next step would be to talk to the department where you're switching your major to. We leave that decision ultimately to the discretion of the department. So if you're a student here at Mork wanting to switch to computer science, for example, you would have to get the approval from computer science in order for you to switch majors. All coursework needs to be done here in the Viterbi School of Engineering. There may be some rare instances where we do have some approved electives in the Chemie department that's outside of the Viterbi, but that's very rare. For the most part, if you look at petroleum and material science, materials engineering, all coursework is done here in Viterbi School of Engineering. The electives, again, you must be extremely careful. They must be approved by your faculty advisor. The process is usually during mandatory advisement session for Chemie and material science. So for Chemie, during mandatory advisement session, Dr. Shing is there signing off declearance cards and approval forms. So that's how you could get approval. Outside of that, you could go ahead and email Dr. Shing and copy me in it. And then as long as she approves and responds all, I'll put that note in your file. For material science, those pre-approved are all listed in the handbook. If there's ever a course you want to take and you want it approved by Dr. Gu, you could email him directly and then copy me in that email as well. There is a difference between declearance and pre-approval, so Dania and I had to stress that again, is that declearance is department clearances that we put so that we can monitor the size of our classes and monitor who's getting into those classes. And then there's approval. So sometimes students could get into a course, for example, a civil engineering course or a mechanical engineering course without D clearances, or maybe you contact the department and you got a D clearance. That doesn't necessarily mean it's approved. So you have to do both. You have to get D clearance if it's applicable, and you have to also make sure those courses are approved. Sorry, go ahead, Ada.
No.
Oh, yeah. And go ahead to make sure you check your scheduled classes for planning purposes regularly. Again, the final schedules are already listed in the scheduled classes, so make sure you check and find out when your final scheduled dates are. Make sure you are very aware of those add and drop deadline, last day to withdraw deadlines. It is your responsibility to make sure you check those scheduled classes. Or for what's available and also the schedule. Make sure you check your USC emails regularly. If you need more spaces, please forward them to your Gmail account. That's where Idania and I communicate.
And please note that once you activate your USC email account, that is where all our emails will be sent. We'll no longer send them to the email that's on the application, such as your Gmail or Yahoo. It will just be your USC email account.
Okay. So again, we're going over the D clearance procedure. What is a D clearance? We went over previously. That's what we put in. It's called department clearance so that students are taking the right classes. So in most material science classes, we don't have D clearances. So you could go ahead and register as long as you know it's approved. But a lot of our courses, like all the petroleum courses, all the chemi courses, have D clearance on there. That's because we don't want students from other majors to enroll in our classes. D clearance versus approval. Again, D clearance is what we put in to monitor the number and the size of our classes. Approval means your faculty advisor has approved for you to take that class. So just because you could get into a material science course, a petroleum student should not be taking that because Dr. Shagi has not approved for you to take a material science course. So again, keep in mind, D clearances and approval are two different things. You sometimes need both. Sometimes there are no D clearances required, and then you could go ahead and get the approval and then enroll directly.
And I just want to stress that the reason that we're mentioning this is because unless you have approval, it will not be counted towards your degree units. It will be considered a course you've taken on your own. This is something that we really want to make sure you're aware of because it's very important that you know that every class that you have approval for, we need to have a record of that, either email, well, preferably email, because that way we can put a copy in your file, and that way when it's time to do your degree check at the end of the program, everything is confirmed and approved.
Right. Yeah. And then in regards to how to get a D clearance, if it's courses within our department, so for petroleum courses, you would just contact Idania directly. For chemi and material science courses, you could contact me directly. For D clearances and electives that's outside our department, you would have to contact their respective department. Again, we're stressing it. You have to get the D clearance approval from the department, but you also internally have to get approval to take those courses from your faculty advisor.
And this is something that you will need to do every semester. So just remember that the ones that have D clearance requirements, petroleum is every semester that you need to get D clearance. As Andy mentioned, some of his courses don't, but it's best for you to check when you're looking at the schedule. If there's a D at the end of the section number, you need to request D clearance.
Okay, and we just want to again thank you guys for taking the time to review these slides. Hopefully you will be in orientation so that this is just a little review for you. Again, if you're a DEN student, please make sure you review the DEN specific slides as well. We look forward to having you here in the fall, and we're very excited.
And I just want to mention one more thing. You have received an email from Andy and I about the dates for the mandatory advisement. Please make sure you are here. If there is a specific situation where you can't make it, please send us an email. We want to know where our students are in the progress of registering for fall. But other than that, welcome, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.